Okay, hello and welcome to what is week 4, and this is the manufacturing stage of our project. So this is where we're really going to start to knuckle down and make some of our products. Now, we're not going to obviously make anything to this level out of plastic bottles and bits of cardboard, but we are going to make things like this, and actually for a plant pot we can make something really quite nice. And after I've talked through this slide, I will cut to a quick demonstration on how to safely use equipment that you hopefully have at home in order to create some of these shapes, and I'll show you a range of different things depending on what you've got access to at home. Okay, now the skill that this is actually teaching you is rapid prototyping, and this is where, before we get to these level of products, we need to explore all of the issues that you might come across, all of the mistakes, all of the sort of difficulties, all the ways you might manufacture a product and the ways it might function, the size it might be, all of those problems. So at GCSE, when we're getting up to this level of a product, quite often we will have gone through anywhere between 5 and 6 very rough rapid prototypes using cardboard, styrofoam, paper, a whole range of cheap and easy to manufacture materials. And we do that so that we're not wasting money making dozens of products out of wood, out of plastic, and making all those mistakes in that expensive material takes a long time to shape and form and manufacture. So rapid prototyping is a really good skill. Now for our tomato planter, we're not going to go to this level. We're just going to create something that looks really good, really nice out of these materials. Okay, so I'm just going to cut now to a quick demonstration. I'm going to do this at home so I can show you how you can use this if, like me, you've got a lot of craft equipment at home, or if not like me, you've got really very little. So I'm going to show you both ways so that at least everybody can have a go and try and get something made. Right, okay. So I've got some products here, I've got some materials. So as I say, we've got some cardboard, little sort of biscuit tin thing. We've got a little butter tub, got a plastic bottle, and we've got a coffee pot and some baby food stuff, some packaging, little baby milk thing from my son Tate, and some cans of pop from my other son whose room we're in, Leon. So what I'm going to do is we're going to test these first, and then I'm going to show you how to do some crafting. So the idea of testing these is, are they easy to actually apply shape to? Are they going to work when we're trying to stick things together? So we need to test the materials to see if they function, and then also are they going to be fit for purpose? We're going to be putting soil in these and seeds, and then we're going to be watering them. So essentially if we add water and it doesn't work, then we need to not use that material. So I've filled up this bottle with water already, and I've got a couple of materials that I know are waterproof. Don't really need to test them. What I might want to find out is, how do they hold water? Do they drain it? Do they retain it? So I know that's going to hold the water absolutely fine, but I might need to think about putting drainage holes in. So I want to test that and see if I can put holes into it. I know that that's going to hold liquid, it's the whole point of it. The only issue is I don't know if it's easy to shape and cut, so I'm going to test that. I'm going to see how easy it is to cut, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then these ones, this coffee pot and this baby food pot, they're a bit like a Pringles tube. Got a handy sort of spoon in there as well, which might come in useful. But it's like a Pringles tube, so it's cardboard on the outside, but then it's sort of lined on the inside with a kind of light tin or aluminium. I'm not quite sure which one. I think it's probably aluminium because it's so light. It doesn't say. But they're probably waterproof and they're probably easy to cut. But once I cut into it, is that going to affect whether it's waterproof? So they're the things that I want to find out. I'm going to turn the camera down now to the testing table, and we'll just have a little experiment. How do we apply shape to this stuff, and is it actually waterproof? Okay, so first things first, when we're going to be cutting cardboard, let's start off with this. It's probably best to unpack it so that it's completely flat. You should be able to do this just by hand. Okay, so we've got that, and essentially what we're going to want to do is, let's say I'm going to cut the arms of my minion out. I'm going to draw them on. Now I only really need to draw one on, and that way I can use that one for a template later on. So just with some simple scissors, I'm going to cut that out. Now this is actually quite easy to cut, and it's quite easy to shape. Like I said, I'll use this for a template now. And to be honest, this is rapid prototyping, so if you're going to go on and make a proper model, you would obviously do it much more carefully than this. And for what we're making for the tomato planter, really doesn't need to be that accurate or that precise. Okay, so I've got my arms, and actually they've got quite a nice little fold in them anyway, which should allow me to stick them onto something. Happy days. What I've got here is I need to test this, so does it actually hold and retain water? So first thing to do, pour a bit of water in there and find out. So this did come with a lid, so I'm just going to put the lid on and shake it around a bit. Okay, and we've got a drip coming from somewhere. So it does look as though it doesn't actually retain water despite having that metal filling. So I don't know if you can see those droplets there, but it is leaking a little bit. Just going to pour that back into the other container. Let's test this one. Still a bit of coffee in there. So again, I'm going to put the lid on this one, give it a little bit of a shake. I think that might have actually just come out of the lid. No, so this one again is actually leaking water. So that's really interesting. So you might think that these things are completely tight, but clearly a Pringles tube, stuff like that, is not as robust as you'd think. So it's actually leaking out of this where it's been sealed. So that's really useful testing for me. I now know that if I'm going to use this for my plant pot, I probably need to have another container underneath it, possibly, you know, something like this that is absolutely airtight, therefore waterproof. So I could have something like this underneath it to capture and contain that water. Okay, so we've discovered some useful stuff. Let me just wipe this down and then we'll restart with how to actually apply shape to that stuff. Okay, right. So we've got our plastic bottles and our tins, and these can be quite tricky, I guess, to put shape into, because obviously with scissors we can cut the cardboard easily, but you can sort of do it, but it's not going to give you an accurate shape. Now clearly we're at home and we don't all have the sort of equipment that we'd have at a workshop. So in a workshop, I know I'd have a craft knife, I'd have a cutting mat, I'd have a hot glue gun. If you've got those things at home, then absolutely you should be using those. They're the best things. But I want to show you what you can use at home safely to still complete this task. So I've got a craft knife, and this was in the shed. You might want to ask parents at home, anyone who's handy at home, they've probably got something like this. Now the way to use this is very, very carefully to make sure that you are cutting away from yourself, not towards yourself, and to make sure that you're just being very, very accurate. So if I'm going to cut into the tin, I'm just going to very lightly pierce it, and I'm actually, rather than sort of pulling against it because it's starting to bite, I'm just going to take it out and release that, and I'm going to move the can rather than move the knife. So when it's sort of getting a bit stuck there, it's just important to take the knife out and go back in for the cut. Just keep it safe. Now that you can probably finish off with some scissors. Now these edges here are they're not particularly massively sharp, but they could be sharp. That could be a hazard. I would always go back round this now with scissors, or better yet, I would very carefully fold it over. To create this edge here that's just a bit nicer. Okay, so I've just got a slightly safer edge there that's not going to hurt. To be perfectly honest with you, my son is 8, he's about to go 9. I wouldn't let him do this. I think it's too dangerous for someone of his age, and you will know your own sort of limits here. So this is a bit risky for me. I'm not sure it's the best thing to be doing, but you can do it, and that's how you can do it. Right, now if you haven't got a craft knife at home, you can use a knife, a vegetable peeler knife, but the danger levels now are incredibly high. So again, same sort of thing, and you can see it's just not quite as easy to pierce. So I'd really recommend not doing this. You can do it if you want, but I don't think that it's a particularly safe one to do. This is where I'd be at. I think you'd be hard pressed not to find a plastic bottle in your home, whether it's a milk bottle, whether it's a big 2-litre bottle of pop, whether it's a smaller bottle like this, even if it's a fruit juice bottle, or even a sauce. You'd be really hard pressed not to find some form of plastic bottle in your home, and that's where I'd be going with this. So first of all, I'm going to cut the label off. We don't need that. We'll get rid of that. And then we've got our shape. So if this was going to be my minion, I'd want to be cutting it around about here. I'm just going to show you something else we can do with the top bit as well. So actually I'm going to cut it on this one. So once again, ideally if you've got a craft knife, cut it in and just move the bottle around. Much easier. Not sharp at all, not going to hurt yourself. If you haven't got a craft knife, you can probably do it with a kitchen knife if you're really careful. Okay. Now that is absolutely fine. The top of it's not quite as straight as I'd like though. So bit of quality control is I can just use scissors to just trim those bits, and just to make it much more even around the top. Now, little sort of sneaky thing that you can do is actually, if you put that in the top, you can put your soil in this section, and when you water it, any excess water will come out into here. Or you can also create a self-watering thing. So if you put some tissue into here or some cotton wool, fill the bottom bit up with water and put it in like that, then it will just draw the water up. So quite a clever little thing you can do just with a bottle there. Don't know if you can see. Okay. So I haven't got any hot glue at home, but I have got sellotape and I have got masking tape. I prefer to use masking tape because it's easy, so you can just tear it away. Again, this is probably something that's in your shed, doing all that DIY. And I'm just gonna secure this in place like so, and that is not going anywhere. The good thing about using masking tape is when you're painting it is that the paint will just cover over this lovely, whereas the sellotape, you can still do it with sellotape, but it will be a little trickier just to paint over. But that's about it really. So there we go. Hello Leon.
Hello.
Right, so what are you doing?
I'm painting a minion out of a washing machine cup.
Okay, let's have a quick look. Alright, brilliant. Cool. Just using some acrylic paints, yeah?
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I'm waiting it to dry so I can use the brown. And whilst it dries, when it dries, Annie will probably used and had all the brown.
Alright, okay, so you'll be using some brown.
Yeah.
Brilliant, cool. Hello Tate. Okay, so we've got some models here that we've made. This one was from half of a 2-litre bottle that's been painted to be a little cat, and this one is a space rocket, but it's not finished yet. But what I wanted to show you was that if you don't have paints at home, there are other ways that you could possibly decorate your stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decorate this using some of my son's stickers. So let's have a quick look. Okay, so what I've got here is a range of stickers books and glow-in-the-dark stars and just random things that my son's had from Christmases or birthdays that have not fully been used, and we're going to see what stuff on here we can actually use to decorate this rocket and make it better. So one thing I'm going to look for are round circles or star themed stuff. Okay, so I've added some stickers and I think that looks pretty good, to be fair. Okay, so we're going to add the soil now. So I've got some cherry tomatoes which I've sort of mashed up and just planted into some compost out of the garden. And very carefully, I wouldn't recommend doing this how I'm doing this. I'd do this outside or on a kitchen side or something if I were you. But I'm doing it here because it's the only quiet room I've got in my house. And we just transfer it across. Okay. So once I've finished with this, I will come back. Okay, so once you've got this, you fill it with your soil and your tomato seed, and then find a nice place on a windowsill to put it, bit of water, keep an eye on it. Let's see how they do. So good luck everybody. Okay guys, so that's it basically. So hopefully now you've got your stuff, it's made, you've got your plant pots and they're ready to go. So we've got ours here on the window, if I just show you them. And there you are. So we've got the nice little cat one and the space rocket one. So I'm really happy with how they've turned out. I think they look brilliant. So well done guys, and what we'll do is we'll get another project planned for you quite soon. Alright, thank you.